Welcome to Connecting the Dots. I'm your host, Jessica Caresse, and today we have a special guest, Issa Mbaye, and today we're going to be talking about the process. So, Issa, let's have a little introduction about yourself and let's get into the topic.
Good morning, everybody. From Canada, Montreal, but originally from Senegal, Africa. Quick thing about me, financial educator, real estate investor, so a public figure in the entertainment industry. So as you can see, I'm like all over the place.
And that's really interesting. So, all over the place. Where do you want to get started in your journey? When you were a kid, what was your dream? Like what did you want to do?
That's so much an interesting question. So growing ups, I wanted to be a superhero. Like everybody, I wanted to have like a purpose in life. As a kid, you see so many things surrounding you from television, from people. So you get like curious. So to be young, I wanted to be like a superhero, but basically I didn't have any superpowers. So I wanted to be like a superhero by myself. And I was like, inspired by a different character, like for example, Denzel Washington. So because of Denzel Washington, I wanted to be like a businessman, like charisma. You know, that's what I wanted to be. So that's the reason why part of me was interesting in human industry, but also I wanted to be someone who have an impact on people, someone who can, lift up his population and people like following me. So that's why I chose the background in finance too, because finance, as you know, it's always like a delicate, thing for everybody. It's never easy to understand the concept. So it was a combination of both of them.
Did you grow up with money?
I didn't, I cannot say that I grew up poor because I was able to eat. I have a roof on my head and, I have my two parents, but growing up with eight siblings, it's always hard for me to count them, but growing up with nine siblings, you have to understand as a kid that, parents, they're just two. So, feed nine kids, have a roof for nine kids, buy clothes to nine kids. It started to get expensive. And my parents, they were immigrant. They came from Senegal to Montreal. So they have to work hard to the process.
So they immigrated with all nine of you guys at the same time?
Lucky not because actually when they came here there was only like I think two or three of us, but the rest of us were born here. So I think that part was easy, but still, just to feed kids, just to be there, and my mother was a mother at home. And my father was the only one working. He was a businessman. So he was always on the road 24/7. So, as one man, feeding nine siblings and, myself, I'm a father and I have just two. I see like the gap. It's really huge.
Mm, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So like I want to understand like the type of environment you're in which piqued your interest with finance in particular. The reason why I ask is like for myself, like we had a roof over our head and everything, but for whatever reason like we never had any money. So like from the outside we looked fine, but inside the house there was constant conversations like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to have money for the mortgage, or oh, we don't have enough money for groceries. So that's what piqued my interest in learning about finance, just because I didn't understand why we didn't have any money. So I'm like, let me learn about money.
My pleasure. That's my favorite topics. But to answer that, it's because I realized that money, it's nothing else that emotional. It's emotion. It's just a question about emotion because, I think that most of people, why they don't understand about the concept of money, it's the lack of a priority. As a kid, my parents, like, they didn't know any concept about finance. So they were living day to day. So as long as, today we can buy this, buy that, okay, everything is fine. So we don't have any issues. So they weren't ready to act when something happened, like and they didn't have like, what, they don't have money to be able to manage it. So as a kid, I was able to see it because money was also a taboo subject at home. So when I was like, for example, that was like my first example. It was when we were ordering pizza. When we were ordering pizza, everybody was eating the pizza right now. Da, 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 da. But the next day, maybe we didn't have anything to eat for breakfast. But me, while realizing that, every time that we were ordering pizza, everybody got two slices. So I know myself. I know that I was able to eat one slice and it will be enough for me. And I kept the other slice for the other days. And this is how I understand better the concept of money.
Mm.
Because it's desire. With money, we purchase desire. And desire never end. So you have to control those desire. But if you don't understand that, lack of money will always come back.
Mm. Hmm. And so, how did you get to the conclusion that money is desire? Right? Because I feel like I didn't really put that two and two together until recently. It like my view of the world was, money equals accomplishments. But then what are the symbols of those accomplishments? A car?
That's the thing. That's the thing. People get easily confused with money because, like you said, most of people associate money with accomplishment. But money is just a tool. It's just a tool for anything else. Accomplishment, desire, it's all within us. It's all the thing that we know for a fact that if we really need it or not. And money is just a tool that can help us to get that. But now with social media, now with people who show off, that's the problem. They always see money as the result of performance, but it wasn't never the end goal. The thing is, let's be honest, we need money. Our system here, all around the world, work with money, the capitalism systems. But the thing is, you need to understand at the end of the day, the most happiest people of the world are the people who control and know exactly what they want. Some people buy and eight or million car. It doesn't mean that they're happy. It doesn't mean that they feel accomplished. Some people, they do some stuff, they don't have any money, but they feel accomplished. So that's the proof that money, it's not an end goal. It's just a tool, or for some people, it's just a result or accomplishment and thing. But for me, money is always and just a tool. At the end of the day, if you control your desire, you know exactly where your money go.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%. And so when you were learning about finance and understanding money, how did you relate this information to your siblings, right? Because I'm pretty sure they, the ones who had two slices of pizza the other night, the night before, were hungry the next day, right? So how did you interact with your siblings on, your own educational journey?
I'm gonna share that information, but that doesn't mean I'm a bad brother. Okay. But knowing that I have an advantage on others, the next day, because I had one slide I didn't have, was able to exchange it for other things. So I also understand the concept on investment, the demand and the offer. I understand all those concepts when I was young. I remember when I was young, for example, my slice the next day, if I wasn't hungry or we have breakfast, but someone really desired my slice, I'm like, okay, I'm going to trade this my slice to X thing for you. Learning that, at first he seemed like, oh, he's not good. He's not a good big brother. But let me tell you something. It was the best way to teach them and teach myself how actually the desire work in this world. And that's the reason why some people pay so much for other thing and they don't pay that much for other thing. It's all a concept of desire. And it is the concept also of demand and offer.
Wow. I'm like impressed by that, right? Because I didn't start understanding the concept of, supply and demand until I was learning about economics in high school and in college. But even then, it was still like a out there concept,
Mhm.
but not something that I could apply for my day-to-day life. So it's like it's actually really impressive that you understood those concepts and actually practiced it as a kid.
And that's the thing, the best way to learn, I think, in life, every concept or anything, it's applied to our reality. Because every time that I use that example, because I used also to teach finance in college, I use that example and people understand quickly because it's a thing that everybody can relate to. But
Mhm.
when you talk about like the offer and the demand, depending on the subject, sometimes you get confused. And also that's another thing. To understand better money, you need to adapt it to your reality. Some people wanted to go deep, deep, deep on that, and you can if you want. But if you don't understand the base and you cannot apply it to your reality, you will never understand that. And those concepts, like they're not that complex, but you just need to take time and relate to them.
Mhm. So you don't teach finance anymore?
But he's busy right now. I'm busy because now also I have two kids, the television, the real estate market, the private coaching. So, at the end of the day, you need to understand that we only have 24 hours. So you need to be able to manage it with really well. It won't be balanced because I think balance is another concept also with money.
Mhm.
If you're not balanced, there is no way that you can manage your money and there is no way you can understand all the concepts and there is no way that you can control money.
Mhm. Yeah. So so we spoke about basically your childhood and then we jumped into how you're teaching, right?
Mhm.
So how was your journey transitioning from childhood to your teenage years to college and then into adulthood?
Well, it was actually for me, that's the reason why I like the title Trust the Process because for me, I feel I start from the bottom. And let me explain that very well. It's because, my parents, they did great. They did great. They were like from Senegal and, they came here like they wanted to have like a better future. But the thing is, coming here, economic system in Montreal, it's something that they never knew before in Africa, in Senegal. So that was the thing that they weren't used to it. And the thing is, they were so busy that they didn't have really the time to teach us those things because they didn't even understand for themselves well. So they were like kind of surviving mode every day, like, just like go with the flow. So knowing that, I was knowing for a fact that I didn't want to go in that pattern because for me, I was see them struggling and I was see them, not getting prepared enough. And that wasn't their fault. It was just the condition of the concept in the system. So this is when I start to say, okay, first of all, how I can do to be better. So like every kid, you think like school will help you. You think that school will be the goal. I don't say school is not the goal, but I'm saying that it's more than just do your study in school because, I didn't learn anything about finance since like my last year in high school. So I start to doing that, but also I start to understand and asking myself question, what are the things that I have to be careful if I don't want to go in the wrong pattern? So for example, friends, this is when I realized that having friends is really important. And those friends have to understand your reality because some friends, they come from a different background and other one have like common things with you. And that's really important. Also, I realized that leading by example, that's the only way. You can teach, you can learn or you can do anything, but if you don't apply it, it doesn't go anywhere. So me, it was really important. Every time I have to do things, I have to be disciplined. So actually, when I was young with my friend, I learned really quick how to be disciplined.
Hmm.
Because for me, I understand that discipline was the only way that I can avoid mistake and I can learn new things. And at the same time, I can teach those things to my parents and siblings.
Hmm.
So for example, when I was like in high school, in my last year in high school. My economic teacher gave me an homework, and the homework was a simulation of the budget.
Mm,
So at this time, in my simulation, my job was to be a teller like a Dollarama. So my income was like $7 hour, thing like that, and I have to make a budget. And I remember that time like it was yesterday. I was at home. I was looking like and the grocery and everything, and I'm like, I didn't have enough even to buy food for myself if I paid the apartment. And I was
mm.
like, I cannot do that. I cannot have that type of life. And I remember that was so impactful for me because I was like, man, you have to get yourself in control. You need to understand what do you want in life. You have to understand what if you want that in life, what do you need to get there? And I remember I was sharing that with my brothers and my mother, and they was like, really? Really? And even them, they were like surprising. But that's the reality. Some of people here, I think, they just no, they just misinformed. So they have goodwill, they have good intention, but the problem is never what you know. It's what you don't know, what you don't understand. And I think the 1, 2, 3 basic in life in or the way we live our life, it's understanding the basic of finance because finance is part of the world. And actually, I think it's the first thing that everybody have in common in the world. It's money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Everybody
yeah,
understand the concept of money. Everybody know what is a dollar or euro or whatever you can call
yeah.
the thing, but everybody understand the green paper.
That's true. That's true. I want to understand the concept that you spoke about discipline with your friends. What does that mean?
For me, for example, there was like strict rules. Strict rules if you want to be my friend. Like for example, for me, you have to respect your parents. That was the first thing. Because for me, back honoring your parents was really important. So this if it was like something that, you're not used to it or you something that you don't really agree on that really quick, like we separate our way. And I'm just giving that example. It's, I know that my parents like didn't buy me like the last PlayStation or the last thing that everybody was seeking for. But I know for a fact they were doing their best and understand that it's a thing. But if you don't understand that part and you just see the kid way that, oh, my parent doesn't offer me this or that, we start in the wrong foot. So that was the first thing. The second thing is to be careful with things that can destroy our life. So for me, for example, as a young kid, I wasn't the type of guy who was going to drugs and things like that. Not because it's something that I wasn't curious. It's because I know for a fact that it was something that could, affect my future. So I was really like aware of that, and I want to stay far from this. So my friend who started doing this, I'm like, okay, but that's not my thing. So let's go separate away because as every stories, as every book, or every autobiography that I was listening or watching, there was always the same pattern, always the same pattern. You have to be focused. You have to, make sure that you're surrounded with people that can help you attain your goal and not, distract you. So that's the reason. But let's be honest, doing those things alone are really hard. So that's why you need friends. You need people that, even when it's raining, that you can laugh together and say, it's part of the process. Let's go, let's continue. And the greatest thing is because as a big brother, by doing that, I was leading by examples. My younger brother, they were seeing that, they were in touch with my friends, and they were like, okay, we're gonna do the same. Actually, I was just opening the bridge.
Hmm. Hmm. That's very, very interesting. Like I actually have um like the complete opposite journey of my friendships growing up because my friends were like my sense of escape.
Hmm.
So it's like I wanted to get out of my house so bad for at certain different periods of time where I didn't look at friends like I have to be careful of X, Y, and Z. I'm like, the I think the criteria I had is do they provide me with a safe space? You know? So, but after transitioning from, more of a survival
Hmm.
standpoint to where I am today, I get it, right? Now I'm like, okay, I know I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and I know I need these type of people in my life. And these are the
Exactly.
type of boundaries I need to put in. But it's like it took me, you know, most of my life to figure
That's
that
okay.
out.
But that's okay. For me, there is life. It's two things. It's accomplishment. So things that we accomplish and experience. It's not wrong or bad. It's the way that life works.
Hmm.
Sometimes people want to find a cheat code or people want trying to find like the easiest way. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. It's the way that you see life. You see, your example, it's really great. In my point of the way that I was living, it was the opposite. If I wasn't able to bring my friend home and he feel like it was home for him and he wasn't my friend, most of my friends today are like siblings for my family. They talk to my parents. Every time one of my brother do their birthday or my sister, they call them too. So for me, it was to have a really inclusive circle,
Mm.
and my friend must have been part of it because if, for example, my friend, they didn't agree the way my parents do things or they didn't agree with um, how my brothers were, but it will be easy for them, when I will be like in my weakest point to uh, bring me back to another side, and I didn't want it that. I didn't want it that. But for me, even if it will happen, it will be just experience because I didn't have like a lot of friends. I can come to my hand. I think like I have two, three friends.
Hmm.
That's like, that's it. But um, for me, life, it's always about experience because it wasn't easy before. It wasn't easier before for nobody. It wasn't easier before. If I ask you the question, tell me one time when life was easy for someone. Even you talk about famous star and everything. No, the greatest thing is they share their real stretch. And this is when you understand that everybody experience things.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And then so with discipline, right? So you had discipline with the types of friendships that you had, and then also discipline with how you viewed finance and applied finance. What other ways did you have, or did you apply, or did you develop different discipline regimens to help guide your path?
Wow. I can be honest. I was also looking very, very deep in my parents' sticks.
Mm.
Coming here for most of people, it's like the dream world. So, as I said before, my parents were living day to day. So, like I said, we have a roof on our head. We have food on the table every day. The thing is, like I said, it's the like priority. My father was a businessman, so he was driving like all the best cars. So I was growing up seeing him driving all the best car, BMW, Porsche, name it all. But the problem is at the same time, he wasn't thinking about investing. He wasn't thinking about the future because he didn't understand the concept. He think that all the thing he was doing will last ever, but he didn't understand that he will get a time that he was going to get old. What's he going to do when he get old? But for him, everything will be like fine and everything. And, when we hit the rock, we hit the rock, and that's part of the life also. And this is what also helped me to understand. And for me, example, I choose really carefully when I make a decision. Is it really a desire? Is this something that I really need right now? Is it something that can help me and things like that? And that's all because of my parents. Because um, they make always try, and everybody always try to make the best decision. But for them, sometimes the best decision was always based on luxury and things that they think that they make that make them feel like better, big, and everything. And most of the time, I think that this is just illusion.
Hmm. 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 Illusion. Hmm. That's a whole topic in and of itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, so then would you describe yourself as a frugal type of person? Like, because it seems as you're describing that you not necessarily want to do the opposite of what your parents did, but you want to be more strict. But how strict are you on yourself? Like,
You know,
mm-hmm,
first, when I was like around 19, I was like really a strict person. My goal was to do always the opposite of my father because I'm like, I want to be my own man, but at the same time, I want to be different. But now on today at my age, I think it's a combination of everything that I've been seeing all my life because the other side is not better too. Life is worth living it. So if you live the life like you see everything like as a problem or thing like that, that's not also a way of living. It's have to be balanced. Life it's really about balance. I think the right word for me to describe myself, it's just that I'm someone who's really aware about life, aware about decision. And I think everybody should be aware. As long as you're aware, everything is fine for me.
mm-hmm,
And this is how I describe like the way of living. Just understand because you can never be 100% aware, but understand actually that it's the reason I did that. And you understand that I was able to manage things because for me, the only thing that I think people have to be careful about is about the basic need. And I always trying to rely on the Maslow concept pyramid. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
oh yes, mm-hmm, the hierarchy of needs.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm,
So this is what I describe life for me. And I think that's a concept that everybody should be like, educate about it. But it's not that difficult, but it's a basic need. If your basic need are good and everything is fine, then the rest is just experience. But the basic needs, everybody need that. Nobody doesn't need that.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So when you say you're aware of things, right? So would it be, let's say you're about to make a purchase. Let's say you
Mm-hmm.
need a new car.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say there's the BMW for 50,000 and then a Honda Pilot for 35,000.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say over the past 5 years, you've been driving a Toyota Camry.
Okay.
And let's say things have been going really well financially for you.
Great.
And both cars have equal amount of technology and everything like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would you choose the Honda or the BMW?
Wow, I love that question. And you gave me so many clues. So it's gonna be easy for me to answer that. If it was me, I would go with the Honda for sure. And let me tell you why. Every decision in life, it's called a cost opportunity. So it's a $20,000 difference between those cars. And for me, just by listening to everything you said, that the cars have the same needs. The only question I should ask myself is, do I will feel better driving a BMW? Do I feel like I belong to the gang with my BMW? Or do I feel with the pilot, I still belong to the gang? And to answer that, so it's I still belong to the game with the pilot. So I'll go with that. Why should I go with a BMW? Because I think people need to understand things. Life it's also about skills. All right. It's not a concept that, oh, because I'm rich, I don't have any problem. That's not true. We still have problems. It's just the problems are different at different level. Some people are fighting every month to pay their electricity bill. Like other people, they fighting for a different thing to pay their line of credit, or like other people they fight because they have to pay the mortgage and everything. So as you can see, blah, blah, sorry, everybody have problem, but just at different scales. So if I took example my BMW, everybody knows if you go for a luxury car, if you have issue with your luxury car, then you pay the price of a luxury car to fix the problem. Why should I do that if my car do the same, both car do the same thing? So after that, it's just a question of cost opportunity. For me, for example, I was thinking about the $20,000 difference. For that, I can do something else. I can maybe if everything, even if everything is fine and thing, you know, I can use it for different thing. Can I put it for my kid an account for his studies, thing like that. So you have to think outside the box too, because $20,000 is not nothing, And life it's not always like something going up. It's sometimes dark side, up and down.
You know what you just identified as well? How secure you are. You're very
I don't
secure.
think I
Oh,
don't think it's secure. I think I like to use the word risk management. I like the risk management because I used to drive a Mercedes C100, C300 that I'm driving right now and Infinity and everything. It's just that for me, it's always a question about the cost of opportunity. You said those two things. Those two cars do the same thing.
mhm,
All right. And you said also that, the difference is $20,000 for a car.
mhm.
For me, it's just simple. But I understand that some people will said, okay, I'll go with the BMW because when you have a BMW, you are like kind of a gang because that's the truth. Luxury car exists just to separate like but people social class.
Mhm.
It's a way to separate social class. It was created for that.
But the reason why I say you're secure is because you said that I'll still be with the gang anyways, driving the Honda Pilot.
Of course.
And a lot of people don't feel like that. There was a time in my life I didn't feel like that. I felt like if people wanted to view me as successful and wanted to include me in like the gang, right? So this was more in like earlier in my career when I was working at a pretty prestigious place. And so
Hmm.
people dress really nice, they carry themselves a certain way. And then for me, like I'm this girl from Baltimore and, I'm just starting out and I'm like, oh my God, who are these people? I felt that if I didn't look or drive a certain car, that they wouldn't accept me.
And you read about this. Even me, it happened to me before. And it was also part of the process because growing up with, like I said, a social class, I wasn't in the rich social class. So of course you develop complex, but it's also part of journey to understand that because even if you're on the table with other people and they seems like more successful to them, the only thing that you always need to do is get interesting because by getting interesting to them, you quickly understand that there may be no difference. There is no difference between what the way you're thinking and the way they thinking. The only difference is it's the material aspect.
Hmm.
But life is not just about material. And to be honest, it's worse today. The more I see today people with luxury stuff, the more I see that maybe they're not that rich. Because by working as a financial advisor before, I used to work also as a wealth management. So I was able to see $1 million bank account, talking with millionaires and people with a lot of money. And let me tell you something. Some of them you won't recognize them on the street, and most of them they don't want to be seen by everybody because they know how the world works and they don't want to be the ATM machine everybody do. So the reality is most people who really don't have money, they know what they're worth. So they don't need, for example, to do stuff or buy cars. And I'm take the example of Mark Zuckerberg. He's driving a Honda. Or Barkley, he's driving a Kia. Even Kawhi Leonard, there is those type of people. But I agree, there is other type of people. They just like bright stuff and everything. That's okay. And that's why you need to know yourself. Me, knowing myself, I like bright things, but not at this point. That's the thing. For me, for example, a car, when it's doing what I need to do, you have Apple CarPlay, I'm fine. I'm fine. It's about, again, desire. If you know and you control your desire, you understand yourself better by being interesting in other people. You understand that the only difference sometimes with those people is just the material stuff And at the end of the day, you get, like you said, secure. And when you get secure, it's an energy that people will feel. That will feel that energy that you don't have to say anything and people will just feel it.
Hmm. So, how did you become interesting?
By asking question. Everybody, I think in life, everybody seems like the main character of his movie. And that's great. That's great. And the only way to be better in life, I think, in every field, it's always knowing the rules of the game. The one who know the rules of the game know better than the one just base everything on his skills. And that was a phrase that I learned from Kobe Bryant. Always know the rule of the game. You always know your appointment. So by getting interesting, you know also your appointment. You know his strengths, you know everything, and you can make connection with him.
Hmm.
But also you can know his weakness too. So for me, I was just asking question and be interesting because everybody wants to talk about it, about himself. Everybody knows. So I can question the other person, see you as someone who's really interesting. So he's like, oh, he wants to learn. And everybody loves student. Everybody loves student. You know, when I was young, I was thinking that I wanted to be a master in life, like, spread my knowledge and everything. But today I can say something. It's always better to be a student than be a master. Because if you are a master, you put so much pressure on yourself and nobody's perfect on the earth.
Hmm.
But by being student, you ask question, you're interesting, and you're always learning.
So, give some examples of the type of questions you would ask.
Me?
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a good question. Let me think about it because I go with the flow, to be honest. I go with the flow because authenticity, it's always something that is really important. I think, if I go quickly, for example, I remember the time that we were talking at each other. It's always about the few words that the person will mention. The few words. Always trying to talk something related to the last few words that person said about him or herself or thing like that. So we always start with that. So to have a concrete example, let me think. But usually when I say to people, for example, if it come for a workspace, I always ask, what are you working? How long have you been working there?
Hmm.
When I talk with real estate agent, normally I always ask them, how long have you been in real estate? When I said, like, for example, 2 years, I said, okay, what did you do before? Why real estate?
Hmm.
And this is when they open up. And this is when everybody start because, everybody have a journey and everybody want to tell how we start his journey. Sometime every night, even when I was school, I was always like preparing myself for day when I'm going to be on TV and going to ask me my journey. So you see, even as a kid, I was preparing myself to that. So today, that's a best way to start question. Be interesting about the dream or the career or the thing that the person doing right now. Understand where that coming from. I remember you used to work in tech and everything like that. So I was interesting. Why tech? We don't see often people like in tech and everything. So this is when you open the jar.
Hmm. 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 That's good. The reason why I asked you that is for people listening out there who, are taking notes on all the hot fire you're dropping, right? Because, sometimes you're in your own, you know, world
Yeah.
and you have desires to get, to expand
Hmm.
your world, but sometimes you don't
Hmm.
know how. So that's why I'm asking you like these specific questions on how you go about asking your questions or how you go about discipline with your friendships, because what you're sharing is probably something that someone else needs exactly like, oh, that's how I do it. Right.
Exactly.
Um, so that's wonderful. I I want to understand like how, so it sounds like you started off with finance as your main career.
Actually, no,
Oh, it wasn't.
no, it wasn't finance
Oh,
at all.
what was
No,
it?
fi- finance was actually my gift from life. I think finance was my gift from life. But when I was young, I wanted to be an engineer, and I started my studying as an engineer in electricity.
Hmm.
The thing is, I was in an office. I was working in an office, and I think I realized that maybe I wasn't an office type of guy working in an office. And I come from a family of businessmen, so I wanted to be on the field. So I start selling like cell phone after that because I still love technology. So I was start selling cell phone, talking about the featuring of the cell phone, be interesting of the way of the cell phone work. But at the same time, I was also getting prepared, paying my loans, my student loans and everything. So I was always like, there was always that bridge in finance because even when I get my bonus in Christmas, my bonus was always to pay my student loan. So, somehow some people would always asking me and tell me, I don't understand. Why do you don't go in finance? And people assume most of the time people assume that I was an accountant or I was a financial advisor and I was a cell phone seller. So I was start to say, what should I do? Focusing on things that for me, it's like, it's simple. It's like drinking water or continue or something that I can, discover more and more and more. And I think that's just a personal decision. I said, you know what? I'm going to focus on things that I know that it's something natural. It's like a second nature for me. And also it can be helpful for a lot of people after because, without any studies, people were already assumed that I was working there because I was educating myself by reading books, doing stuff. And, I was just like a money guy since I was young. I remember my father used to call me the banker. And that's the reason I didn't want it to go at first because I didn't want someone to tell me what to do. So, but since I was 5, he called me like my banker.
That's so funny. That's so funny. So, okay, so engineering.
Yeah,
So it was engineering and then finance.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then you also said real estate and television.
Yeah, because real estate was part of it because when you talked about money, everybody, you have your basic need, doing your budget, understand your expense, and know your income. But there also like another part that's come with it's investment. And the basic is everybody know the saving account, like get a little bit of interest in everything, but when you get like more info and everything, you want to go to the big league. And for me, the big league was real estate because for me, it was a type of investment, but with a low risk management because you can use mutual funds and I do have mutual funds and you can use also, if I don't know how to call it in English, but it's like FNB. But, and also, the market stock. But for me, as I said, I'm a secure guy. So for me, it was always a question about risk management. So risk management for me was, going with real estates because for me, it was something that I can understand. And that's a thing that people need to understand really fast. You never should put your money somewhere that you don't understand it well, you know? And, for me, it was like easy to understand real estate really fast. And I wanted to make money really quick, fast. I wanted to use the passive investment really fast. I wanted to grow fast. So I start to get interesting in real estate. So I buy like triplex, and after like 3 years, I realized the value that has increased. It was like incredible. I think like my value have increase of 70,000 in just 3 years. And I'm like, what? I never saw that anywhere. Even if I was saving all my money for the last 3 years, I won't get that amount of money. So I realized that in real estate, it's like mad thing. And also the easiest thing it was because my other brother, he already had this house. So at the same time, I was learning because even him, when he bought his house, after you, when he sell it with a high profit.
Hmm.
So, and it was easy for me after to exchange with him and everything. So that's why real estate become also our second part in our family.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So would you, so with the real estate, is it, are you just doing like residential, like rentals, or are you getting into commercial, or I guess what's your hot spot with real estate?
But me is two things. I have me and also I have me and my brothers. But for me, I do two things. I do renovation. So for example, I bought things, I make renovation. And for now on, it's those things that I keep to myself again. Also like buy a triplex, duplex condo. So do rental with it. So for me right now, I keep in it. On the other end, when I'm doing my brothers, it's we bought Hoarder House like for cheap price, and we clean them out, we renovate them, and we sell it back. And it started because of my brother, because he just was doing it flip. So that's the other thing that we do. We do like auto construction. So we demolish house and we're trying to build like, condo tower and everything. That's something new that we start. So we're still learning from that and everything, but the process is still going on.
Hmm. I'm surprised you guys aren't gonna move down here to Miami. It's
I
condo
think it's
central
part of
down here.
I think it's still part of the process, but I think that, in life, it's like a scale. I think sooner or later we'll be there. I'm confident about that because we don't want to just limit it ourselves to Montreal. But I think for that, you have to learn also to be patient. You have to
Hmm.
be patient, but it's on the map. It's on the map. Senegal, Miami, Los Angeles, I know for sure in the map because here I like the winter, but not that much. So I want to find also a place, and Miami is the nearest place for Montreal.
Hmm. So then you got your real estate. And how did that lead you into television?
Yeah, actually, it came from my brother, the one who was doing flip. So he was always sharing all this flip on YouTube and his
Oh.
personal social network. And someday, someone of HGTV approached him and they said, "Hey, we see what you're doing and it's really interesting." It was in French. So he said, "We don't understand anything you say, but we want to meet you." So he talked about his journey. And like you see, me and my brothers are really close. So he talked about it, of course. And the guy said, "Okay, but I want to meet you guys." So we organized a meeting and we're all talking about each other. And they realized that, we are kind of a team. So he said, "Okay, we want the three of us together." So we're like, "Okay, let's do this." And this
Wow.
is when we start our show, Hoarder House Flippers, on HDTV.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, it's a kind of a dream. I always see myself as a conferencer or a motivator speaker, someone who will give advice to people. Uh, um, on a bigger scale, I wish I wanted to be on television. Even like Denzel. And when that happened on the show, I was like, "What? Okay." So in life, you always have to stay positive because life is just a question of perception, and you never know when something can happen. I like to say to people that life is a combination of two things: consistency and opportunity. So when the opportunity come, are you ready? It's like the bus. When the bus come, are you ready coming in to jump in or not? And if you're not, you have to wait until the next one. But you don't know when the next one will appear.
Hmm. Consistency and opportunity. I find that the more consistent you are with the things that are intrinsically yours, like intrinsically your interest or, wants, that's where I find the most, you'll see a lot of opportunities appear. So, what I mean is, how some people will start something a little bit and then stop, and then start something else like a little bit and then stop.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, let me try this because my friend's doing it. But it's not intrinsically their own interest. They're just doing it because their friend's doing it. And then they stop.
And that's sad, to be honest. That's sad because, I mean, you already know the answer. It's as long it's not something that, you can do without a price on it. That's not patient. That's not something that you love to do. Some of the thing, and people, that's the thing that need to understand. Even my real estate properties and everything, those are things when I started, I didn't make any pennies out of it. And that wasn't the goal, actually. That wasn't the goal. The goal was just to have like something, create a legacy because, my father always used to say something to me. He said, the goal as a man, and I'm talking like to me because the goal is also the same for the different type of gender. But he always said the goal as a man for me was always to give you better than I used to have when I was young. He said, I grew up in Senegal. You grew up in Canada. You can go back in Senegal whenever you want. But you know how it's hard to someone to quit Senegal and come to live here. So I did my job. Maybe I wasn't the best because life it's about trying. But that thing, I own that. And you should do the same. He said the thing is, if you want to have a legacy, the only question you should ask is how you want the legacy to grow up and what do you want them to know about you? And for me, it was that. It was, I didn't know anything about real estate. And, we didn't, by any luck, we didn't end up with a house. We bought a house when I was kid and everything, but we didn't end up with a house because, like I said, my parents didn't know the management of priority. But for me, knowing that, I know for sure that's really important, at least to have like an estate or something tangible where your kid can have their basic needs, a roof, place that they can always come to eat, or a place they can feel secure. So that's why I started in real estate. Nothing else more than that. Just a will of have to protect my family. That's it. That's all.
Mm.
It wasn't a question about money. Like I said, money is just a tool. Like the armor I use to fix the wall. That's it. But if you do well, you can attract. You can attract money. And that's how life really work. All the opportunities came to me. It's because it was just about, attraction. My brother, he was approached by AGTV because he was doing thing because he wanted to show people how it's work, how easy it is. And he was passionate about that. He was passionate to talk about it. And sometimes, at the table, when you always talk about, everybody wanna talk about themselves. But the easiest way, if you want, to be balanced with everybody, do it online. Do it online. So if people really want to know more, they can go online and see what you're doing. But you cannot push people to listen to you.
Mhm.
But you see, because you have a love of that, he was able to attract. And that's the thing. I think love of attraction for me, I think it's real. As long as you do things really love, you really enjoy, and you really want to bring value out of it, people will see it, people will feel it, and people will get attracted to it. But if you do it because you want to have the transaction out of it, people can feel it too. People are not stupid, as also a mortgage broker, we see that every day. When we try to work with the agent, we work with their trade partner. The one who want to be partnered with you, and the one that we feel it. We feel the one who just want the transaction. So for me, it's really easy. When I know that it's not something that you really want to work with me, I'm gonna say, no, let me think about it, and I will never get back to you. But if I know that you're really truly passionate and I see long-term relationship, let's go. Of course, I will go with you.
Mhm. Passion. Law of attraction. Have you always had this positive outlook?
No, not at all. And I think it's not honest to say that I'm 100% positive. That's not true. I just understand how to manage my emotion, the dark moment, because let me tell you something. Dark moments are there and they will always be there. And more you are ambitious in life, more you will face dark side. The only thing that you should always ask yourself, and do you can recognize yourself when you're in the dark side, and what do you do when you're in the dark side?
Mhm. You have to elaborate more on that because
You
talking
want
to
to know
different
more?
people throughout, my day to day, a lot of people struggle with the dark side. A lot of people struggle with anxiety, depression.
You know, I think that be vulnerable, it's a part of life. Sometimes people don't want to be vulnerable because they don't want to feel weak, and they don't want, that people use those information against them. And for me to give them an example, it was a struggle because people always used to see me as the perfect guy, the guy who know everything, the guy who have control everything, the guy who have money and everything, blah, 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 blah. But that wasn't true. So even about when I was talking to people about my problem, they're like, oh, that's your problem, that's the rich problem and everything. I'm like, come on, and I didn't like that, to be honest. And I'm like, yo, man, like everybody have problem, like, and that was hard for me. So this is when I start to see a therapist. And I realized that therapist, it's really important because life, it's like a computer, and you have like the memory in your life, like a space memory. And as long as you keep the dark thoughts and the dark situation in your head, there is not enough space to let enter new things and positive things. So you have to let that go. So for me, since like in 3 years, I'm seeing a therapist. So every 2 weeks, I'm with someone who listening to me, someone with knowledge, someone who can understand my background. So because that's really important. When you choose your therapist, you have to choose wisely. You have to choose someone who can share everything, but he can also understand because that's a double. That's like a double-edged swords. We said
Mhm. Mhm.
double-edged sword. Yeah,
Mhm.
because it can be a double-edged sword because if you share personal thought to that person and they came back to you with the wrong information because they don't understand your life, it can also destroy everything you built for. It can destroy all the value that's important for. And for me, I was trying different. And the reason I say that is because I tried different therapists and I finally find mine. And for the last past years, it's wonderful because I'm able to, release, unleash everything inside of me. So when I came back from that, I just have the positive thought because every information that I shared with her, first of all, it's confidential. But after that, she make me see another way.
Mm.
Sometimes some situations are real, but other ones, sometimes it's just part of your thinking, but it's not real. So that's why. So this is how I evacuate all the negative.
Did you see a drastic change in, I guess I'm gonna say, like, synchronicities when you started going to therapy and releasing all of the dark negative thoughts?
Yes, I do. Completely, I do. And let me tell you something about it too. You start to see people and they have vision. This is when you realize that life, most people should be able to share their thought because you feel it. When you talk to someone is gonna tell you something, and because you know the process now, you can see through that person want maybe to share thing. That person need to release that person ta. It's a process because it took me actually 2 years be able to have a good air breathe from that. And now it's just part of my routine now for the last years. But it's a process because it's hard. Nobody is used to that. Nobody's used to that. Nobody's used to share everything to someone. The only person that we share everything, but I'm talking to myself, but it's God. God actually is the only person that you share actually everything, even your parents, even your spouse and everything. There was always a part that you keep to yourself.
Yeah.
But with my therapist, I was able to share everything. And the part that I loved the most that I wasn't never felt judged. And I think that's the best part out of it. And some people, they are afraid of that. Everybody is afraid to be judged. Everybody is afraid to be judged. And I was there. I was there. But I can tell you now from today that it was the best decision, one of the best decisions of my life. Because in life, you have to understand things. w- uh, Physical health is really important, but mental health is also important. Heart is important, brain is important. They work. It's like a couple. It's a couple. They work together. It's like yin and yang. They both need to be balanced. Because even if one is good and the other one is doesn't go, it will not work. It work in both ways.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow. It's so funny. Like I did used to go to therapy as well. And I finally found a good one too. Like she would ask me the right questions.
Hmm.
And I remember she asked me a question like going back into like one of the tougher times in my life, my childhood. And then like I relived it and I relived the emotions and the feelings. And at the time, like I had everything suppressed. Like I had so many things suppressed. And, therapy is really powerful because I ended up getting shingles after that because it was like all the stress on top of my day to day stress.
Yeah.
Just like,
Go.
you're not supposed to get shingles until like you're like 50 or something, right? So
Yeah.
like when I went to the urgent care, they're like, why? Why do you have shingles? And then I actually stopped therapy after that because I'm like, I don't want to relive this thing anymore. Like I got shingles. I don't want to relive the pain.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a long process. The first 2 years was really hard. And I remember my therapist told me that. I said, it's not easy because you have to open and have to understand more. But after that, it will be much easier. But for a certain amount of time, it's going to be hard because it's not something you're really used to. So it's going to be up and down. But is it what life is? Is it how life works?
Mhm.
Managing with good thing, bad thing, and everything. And it's always that. It will never just be good. It will never just be bad. It's always a question of balance.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I said that for me, going to see a therapist was really good because it helped me to create my own balance. And the reason why I didn't want to stop, it's because I think that in life, you always need to have someone that you can evacuate everything inside of the house. Because the problem is today, with the lack of managing emotion management, people think that, because emotion, it's a way of living, because it's emotion tell you this and that, it have to be the same for everybody. And it should not be the same for everybody. But by knowing your emotion, you can understand better the environment you're dealing with. So for example, if I feel my mood, I feel bad and and everything, but the environment that I was dealing with, everything is fine. So you should ask the question, the problem coming from my environment, it's coming from myself. And this is exactly how therapy works. That's it. That's all. It's just a way of questioning ourselves because it's wild to see people questioning themselves. They always blame on something. They always blame on something. But me, I realized that usually most of problem is coming out from us. It's not the problem actually. It's how we deal with the problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it can also impact the people that we love. And sometimes our intention were good. And I always like to take up again my father as an example. His only goal in life was to give us everything that he didn't have. So that was actually kind of a trauma for him to say, listen, I'm going to give my kid everything I didn't have when I was kid. But it turned out to create another problem. Maybe, yeah, you gave that, but you created another thing because the question will ask, do I do this for me or I do this for my kid? And that's why therapy was good for me because I was able, like I said, to add that thing to my aware skill.
Mm-hmm.
And now I just question myself more. And I use those trauma when you were a kid, not as the excuse of who I am, like most people do, but I use them as tool of lift me up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really fine line. It's like a really small switch of having the viewpoint of letting your traumas hold you down and you create this shell of yourself versus, using your trauma, just changing a little bit of your perception of, what happened and, expanding the context behind like why certain things happened. Um, and allowing that to build you up, right?
You'd be surprised how like perception is a powerful tool. Our brain just create every time everything that we have in our mind. So it's so easy to be like the victim because you're the hero of your story. So usually a hero or the main character never do anything wrong. But the reality in life, it's nobody's perfect. And sometimes the hero of the movie is the one who question himself and realize that he have to change order to create a better world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, what were the things you had to change about yourself?
That was the question, and I'm still working on that. I think the thing that I'm still working and the thing I realized it was my pride and my ego. Growing up with men, we were 7 men and 2 girls, and with my siblings. It's a lot of ego in the house, a lot of ego. We're not like this. It start to become like a second nature. So when after that you are in different environment, you still have this same body, the same mindset, and the same way of seeing things. So it was really hard for me to question myself because for me, I'm telling like when I was talking also with people regarding money, finance, everything, my way was always the good way because I said, I did it, it worked, so this is what I know, so it's good. But it was ego actually. It was ego. It was the pride to say, I did something and work. So what should I change in order to create something new to prove something to someone else? No, 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 good. And that's what it's not easy. But every time something happens, the good thing is I always ask myself, if am I able to do something different? Or am I able to do things? Because it's every day. Those exchanges are every day. I'm a landlord, so I exchange out every day with my tenant and things like that. And just a couple of weeks ago, I had an exchange with my tenant, and it started to get heated. And I remember the old me will say, "Hey, hey, who's the landlord? Stop it." But you know what I did this day? I said, "No, I think it's not the right moment to talk. I'm gonna hang up. Let's talk later." And it turned out that was the best decision ever. But to be honest, at first when I did that, I felt like, and again, it was the ego. But today I'm telling you, it was the best decision ever because it turns out that, everything was like good after that. It was a win-win situation. We were able to manage.
Hmm. What led to the realization you need to work on your pride and ego?
It's it
Mm.
because, I think that, to be able to question yourself, you have to talk with someone who just want the best out of you. And it's easy to feel like that the person next to you want to take your seat or thing like that. And even with your brother and sister, you see them as a competitor because, for me, like we were like this since we were young. But my kids, they start to, I we question myself because they're just kids and they're innocents. And when they start asking you question like this and that and everything, and for some reason, sometimes they are afraid because they don't want to say something that will create like a dispute and everything. So this is when I start to question myself. I always used to say that you cannot change nobody. Nobody can change someone, but someone can be the reason why you can change yourself.
Mm.
And I start doing that when my firstborn, was my first daughter was born. And like I said, I started 3 years ago, and my daughter she's 4. So you have an answer for that.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. So like what does the future look like for you?
My future, my future look like more in the way of how to say it like properly. It's go more in a spiritual way. They go more with a spiritual way. Because you know, I used to do all my things because I wanted a gain. It was desire, one thing that I want to achieve to feel accomplished. And I realized in a certain way of life, it will be endless, and I will never feel accomplished because, and it's, let's be true. You finish a goal, you always think about the next one, and it will goes on and goes on and goes on, and without noticing, you get old and you turn back and like, what? I didn't enjoy anything of that. And that's the reason why the wisdom is coming in, because wisdom is just also take time and appreciate the process. Because at the end of the day, the goal is not to go. At the end of the process, the goal is to feel the process. Because the real story of your life is the process, is going through the process. When you watch a movie, you don't watch the movie because of the end of the movie. You watch the movie because all the movie was interesting. So, you know, it's all the journey, all the things happening in the movie make a movie good. It's not just the beginning of the and the ending. And actually it's as long as, you know, it's entertainment, as long as we feel that we feel connected to the movie. And this is why I'm going more in a spiritual way with them, because that's the only one that you can really appreciate the process.
I agree. I agree. I think I recently made the shift of being outcome oriented to process oriented once I really started taking a deep spiritual journey. And when we met, man, he said, man, I was like in a, like a, I don't want to say like disconnected mindset from reality, but when we met, like that was the real heavy, heavy, heavy beginning part of like my spiritual journey where things were just changing really drastically in my life.
I like to say to people, that advice that I received from someone: when your kids crying, joy. When your kids are happy, enjoy this at the same level. Because even in the process, like you said, sometimes when you make the shift, it can feel big, can feel exhausted. But in your mindset, you have to feel it at the same level that if something good happening. And this is how you feel balance. It's not easy.
It's
It's
not.
not easy. But when you think about it in a long term, you feel the same thing when you talked about it again. You know, when I tell a story about my kid when he was crying and everything back in the days, I have the same happy feeling when, even if it was a moment that, blah, 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 but even if it was a moment where everything was fine, it's still the same. The way I'm seeing it, the way I picture it in myself is the same. So that's why you should do that today also. Because at the end of the day, you will talk about it the same way. Not easy. Talking to myself, I'm working on that, but I know for sure that's the way, and I'm working on that.
Hmm. I know it's really important. It's really important. And one thing I've been starting to practice, um, especially when you're trying to practice being present and being in the moment without your mind, going off into
Mhm.
whatever you need to do, is that this moment, this second right now is a fleeting moment, second, right? You're not going to remember what happened at 11:27 and 32 seconds. You're not going to remember what happened at this particular second 10 seconds from now. Like
That's true. Yeah,
so having that consistent mindset of just enjoying everything that happens and just knowing that everything happens for the good of your life, for the good of you,
exactly. Yeah,
right? You can't build up so much emotions with a moment that's going to be fleeting 5 minutes from now that you're not even going to think about.
Exactly. People need to stop like overthinking, and overthinking is not a bad thing, but people should stop to overthinking, trying to create like a special scenario, trying to be like exclusive now and just live. Because like you said, life after 20 years now, you will not remember like, oh, what happened at 11 thing, but you remember the moment. And life it's just moment. It's just moment. Good or bad, it's just moment. When you think about it, even when people tell bad stories, bad moment in their life, depending on the situation, sometimes they laugh about it. I remember like me and my brother, when we are together, sometimes we tell stories, we tell bad story, but sometimes we laugh about those bad story. But back in the days, at those right moment, it wasn't funny at all. But like I said, be balanced at our age and important. When we're kids, it's okay. It's okay because you start to understand and manage your emotion. But at our state of mind, our age, and for our future kid, they, they they're gonna deal with that, and we have to be prepared to tell them that it's not a big deal. Yes, it happened, but life it's not. Life comes with good and bad thing, but it's just life.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we try to find answer for things that you don't need any answers.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Whew, Issa, I feel like we
Yes,
could talk for for hours.
yeah, we can.
Um, if you could give your top 3 to 5 bits of advice for, enjoying the process, managing your life, mentality, spirituality, what would it be?
For me, first of all, best thing that I can say to people, it's if it doesn't, it's not happening right now. Get disciplined as soon as you can, because the disciplined ones are always the more happiest people because they are able to appreciate everything they're doing, and they are able to have a control over their life, because the only thing that you can have control in life, it's yourself. The rest, you don't have any control. So get disciplined faster. The second one is have an attitude of gratitude, because it's always easy to see the worst in life. But if you focus your mind on seeing good thing, even in the bad thing, you will attract good things too. So attitude of gratitude. And if you can, every morning, that's my third advice. Every morning when you wake up, like say something or do something that you can say, I'm happy to do it. That's really important, because the way you start your day resume also the way that you can live your life. So you have to start with something that you love, something you like. So it will just start your day, right? Also, of course, understand the reality that we're dealing with. So you can say whatever you want. And I know everybody wanted it to be rich. But if you don't understand the basic concept of money, budget, if you don't understand a budget, even if you're a millionaire tomorrow, I guarantee that the next 2 years, you're going to get back the same states you were. Because getting a budget doesn't mean, oh, I'm cutting my life off living. No, getting a budget did mean that I have a country. It's another discipline, but for money. And the last one, life is nice. So always trying to create moment, create moment. Life is just about moment. All the story that I was telling today, they were just moments in my life. But those moments I appreciate, and they will always stay in my mind. So just trying to create moments, the moments that you can remember in your life.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Issa. And where can people find you?
Well, people can find me first of all on the show Hoarder House Flippers. We have 2 seasons that are available on Stack TV, AGTV Canada. So yeah, you can go there and you can watch us. And also in Olu too, if you wanted to. Also, I'm on IG, Instagram. So Issa Mbaye, or you can also follow our my page with my brother. It's the My Brothers. So you can follow us there and also on the YouTube and TikToks.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Issa.
Thank you for inviting me.